Hello dear soulmates, welcome to Honest Academy. In this class, we're going to learn how to fix an invisible zipper. You can see how neatly this is done. This is what we're going to do in this class. Hope you love it. If this is what you would like, please kindly stay to the end. See you. In fixing an invisible zipper, first you have to make sure that you stabilize your fabric, especially when you're using a fabric that is very light, right? When using a fabric that is very light, you need to stabilize it with an air stay. And then what you're going to do is to determine how much allowance you added for your zipper. If you added 1 inch allowance, you will make sure that you're sewing on 1 inch. If it is half inch, make sure you're sewing on half an inch. So here I'm going to be sewing on 1 inch allowance. So I'm going to measure 1 inch allowance from the edge to where it stops, and that is where the mouth of the zipper is going to be, the teeth of the zipper. Okay, so I'm going to place it there, use pin and hold it. So once you're done pinning it this way to where you're going to be sewing it, you're going to open this zip up. Okay, if you leave it closed, it will be difficult for you to sew it properly. So all you have to do is to open it up, and that will make it easier for you to sew. So you have to make sure that you have this big footer. If you're using the small footer, even if it's on a blackhead, it's going to be difficult for you to fix it well. So even if you don't have the invisible footer, this is not an invisible footer. This is just a big footer for usually for whitehead machines. Okay, between electric and manual machines. But whereby you do not have it, get an invisible footer. That will make your job easier. So for us to fix, I'm going to open this zip up. I will not just place my footer and start fixing. I'm going to open the zip, use my hand and widen it. Once you widen it, you place your footer. The footer will help to press it down while it is open, and you try as much as possible to sew while the zipper is open. Now in this case, you're not trying to rush it. You're not going to be rushing it. Just take it gradually so that you don't sew on the teeth of the zipper, but make sure that you sew it quite close while it is still very open. Okay, so it's very close to the teeth but not on the teeth. So gradually I'm going to take it down and make sure it is open as I'm sewing, right? So by the time I'm done doing this, you're going to see it might not give you exactly what you want initially, but once you're done, you can always cross check to see if it's going to work out or not. Okay, and of course it's going to work out because this is what I usually use whenever I want to fix an invisible zipper, and it comes out so beautiful. So gradually I'm going to continue my sewing until I get to the end for for this part of the zipper, then I'll turn. So once you're done sewing, you're going to close it, even if it's that one part, to make sure that it's not stopping anywhere. You can see how it is. So as it is closed like this, I'm going to place the other part, especially where you have joining at the waistline. You're going to make sure that you match it up in order to fix the remaining part, so that the two joining of the lines will be on the same page. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that they are together this way using the same allowance, which is 1 inch. Okay, this is where it should be. So I'm going to make sure that I have the two joining on the same line. So once you fix it this way, use your pin and hold it together. Use your pin and hold it together. Make sure it's not shifting. Okay, make sure it's not shifting. You're going to sew your zipper first on that line. sew it on that line first. Make sure it is fine before you continue to sew on any other part. Before you sew on any other part, make sure that that part is very okay, right? So I'm going to stitch here. So while fixing this part, I'm not going to open the zip yet. I'll just match it together, like put it together to make sure that I hold the joining before I will open the zip to make sure it's sewn. Now you might not need to tighten it this way until you're sure that you've done the right thing. Okay, so I'm going to bring it out now to open it and be sure that the two of them are matching together. If they are not, feel free to lose it. Okay, feel free to lose it. It's no big deal. So I'll just remove the pin, turn it, what do we have, and make sure that it's on the same page. You can look through it from the. Okay, what do you think? The two of them are on the same page, so I'm going to make sure that it's now very invisible. So I'll continue my fixing down, and I'm going to open up the zipper. Since I have this part secured, I'm going to open it up and open the zip just as we did in the previous, and I'm going to continue down to the end. Okay, so the same way I fixed the other part, that's how I fixed the remaining part. I've not closed the lower part, I've not closed this part. So let's see what we have there. This is it. Look at how it is. So beautiful. So beautiful. So if you don't have invisible footer, you know what to do. Buy the big one. It's not an invisible footer. This is not an invisible footer. This is just a bigger footer than the smaller one that comes with the black head. If you have this type of machine, you have the big footer. You can always buy it in the market. I'm just going down now to close up the remaining parts of the gown. This is the gown. I've shown us how to fix an invisible zipper. So I'm just going to close this part. Okay, so here too I still have a joining, and I'm going to make sure I put it together, and that is where I'm going to start sewing. So I'll put it together, make sure they are matching up. I'll make sure they are matching up. Even though it's not, I'll drag it and make sure they are matching up. I'll use my pin and hold it together, making sure that they are matching up. The emphasis is on matching up, matching up. Okay, once it's matching up, I'm then going to start my sewing from there. I'll make sure you can see this one is already out. So now for this lower part to be very close without noticing, because once you close here, it will be difficult for you to sew on this one and sew it very neatly. So it's possible, or maybe I should do it that way, that I take this zip to where exactly I want it to stop. Before joining, I'll put my hand in between and join. So I'm going to try as much as possible to make sure I sew it a bit down, just where I want it to stop. Before closing it up, I'll shift my hand up a bit and close it up so that everything rhymes together. If you're waiting to close this part before finishing the zip where you want it to stop, you will not get it so perfect.